Lewis Carroll's Mad Hatter is quite an iconic character, but how did the Mad Hatter come about? How are planets and poisons involved? Today we're falling down the rabbit hole into all things mad and mercurial. But before we fall too far, this video is sponsored by Cerebral. Cerebral is a mental health platform that provides access to ongoing online prescription medication management, counseling, and therapy for anxiety, depression, insomnia, and other conditions, all for a flat monthly rate. It's always a good time to prioritize mental health, and with Cerebral's mobile app, you can message and meet with your provider wherever and whenever is most convenient for you. It's like carrying your care team around in your pocket. Simone Biles, world champion gymnast and now Chief Impact Officer at Cerebral, has been very vocal about prioritizing her mental health. With Cerebral, you can too. Start by filling out a short online form, answering a few questions to help Cerebral understand your symptoms. From there, you can choose to subscribe to one of 3 different membership options based on your needs. So, if you're ready to champion your mental health, click the link in the description to start the questionnaire and get connected with a provider right away. Your first month starts at only $30. Thank you to Cerebral for sponsoring this video. First published in 1865, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland refers to the character as the Hatter, or Hatta in Through the Looking Glass. But it's really the other characters, like Alice and the Cheshire Cat, who consider him mad. The idioms mad as a hatter and mad as a hare in March, because rabbit mating season in March, make the Hatter and March Hare perfect mad companions at the nonsensical tea party, which in the book is in chapter 7, A Mad Tea Party. But did Carroll coin the phrase mad as a hatter? How much of it was his influence as opposed to historical use? And who really was Carroll's hatter based off of? The answers are curiously contrariwise. These questions first take us back to the history of hat making in the 18th and 19th centuries, when industrial workers used mercury nitrate, a toxic substance, hello lack of workplace safety standards, as part of the process of turning fur into felt for hats. But this was not always the case. Supposedly, the felt hat industry had been traced back to the mid-17th century in France, likely introduced to England sometime around the 1830s. The story of how mercury became part of the felt-making trade has been passed down as such. In Turkey, camel hair was used as material for felt, and people discovered that the felt-making process could be sped up if the fibers were first moistened with camel urine. It's said that French workmen used their own urine, and one man in particular was able to, produce superior felt. He was being treated for syphilis with a then common mercury compound, which worked its way through his system and, out into the fibers. And so the association between mercury and improved felt was made. Hope he felt proud. Eventually, solutions of mercuric nitrate were used commonly in the felt industry, causing mercury poisoning, or erethism, to become endemic, especially affecting those who worked closely and constantly with the mercury-treated products, like hatters. But where does mercury, the element, tie into, quote, mad? It's time for a few fun facts about mercury poisoning. And by fun, I mean we're getting super specific and scientific. Metallic mercury is a liquid at room temperature and readily evaporates into the air around it. We'll refer to metallic mercury as simply mercury from this point on for simplicity. Mercury mainly affects health when inhaled as a vapor, where it can be absorbed through the lungs. Oxygen from the lungs oxygenates the blood cells, which are carried throughout the bloodstream. Yay. The body has what's known as the blood-brain barrier, which largely protects people's brains from infectious stuff like viruses and bacteria, but some amounts of mercury are able to pass through it via the bloodstream or through nerves, and will accumulate in specific parts of the brain. These parts are connected to primary sensory nerves, which are critical to the function of the nervous system. So we'll see some of the neurologic and motor function side effects of mercury poisoning due to where it ends up in the brain. Early signs and symptoms can be seen affecting the nervous system and leading to neurological symptoms like nervousness or anxiety, irritability or mood changes, numbness, memory problems, depression, and physical tremors. But more symptoms appear as the body's mercury levels rise, like experiencing a metallic taste in the mouth, nausea and vomiting, feeling uncoordinated, the inability to feel the hands or the face, changes in vision, hearing, or speech, and difficulty walking or standing straight. Because of these, hat makers were sometimes thought to be drunk, when really they were experiencing mercury poisoning. Symptoms of prolonged exposure can include tremors, emotional changes such as mood swings, irritability, nervousness and/or excessive shyness, insomnia, headaches, disturbances in sensations, changes in nerve responses, lead to respiratory failure, mercury vapors in the lungs, and death. Phew, okay, that was a lot. But talking about the mood swings and changes made me wonder about the term mercurial, which as an adjective can be used to describe of a person subject to sudden or unpredictable changes of mood or mind, which fits the bill of not only mercury poisoning, but also the physical properties of mercury's liquid form and movement. So I wondered if the term mercurial came about as a consequence of the hat makers and felting industry, or something else. Specifically, what about the planet Mercury in retrograde? Surprisingly, the answer takes us back a lot further than the 1800s. Historically, the Romans believed that gods and goddesses were in charge of everything on Earth. Mercury, who was known as the god of shopkeepers and merchants, travelers and transporters of goods, and thieves and tricksters, can be traced as far back as 495 BCE, when a temple was built in his honor on the slope of Aventine Hill in Rome. He was depicted as having wings on his helmet and shoes and could travel quickly from place to place. As the Romans named the planets, the planet Mercury, closest to the sun, was so named because of its swift travel around the sun. So then the term mercurial has the unpredictability associated with the trickster aspect of the god Mercury, and relating to astrology is supposedly influenced by the planet, which was named after the god anyway. Mercury in retrograde is a phenomenon associated with astronomy and astrology, and of course the planet Mercury. The term retrograde comes from the Latin word retrogradus, meaning backward step. So retrograde is when a planet appears to be going backwards in orbit as viewed from the Earth. Astronomers call this apparent retrograde motion because it's an optical illusion. This can be seen when Earth laps outer planets or when inner planets lap the Earth. So Mercury in retrograde refers to when Mercury laps the Earth and appears to be going backwards, a seemingly quick, unexpected change in behavior, not unlike those affected by Mercury in the body. But back to Mercury, the element. Europe wasn't the only place affected with, quote, Mad Hatters. In Danbury, Connecticut, known as the Hat City, quite a distinction, was an important center of America's hat-making industry until men's hats went out of fashion in the 1960s. Fare thee well, dapper days. At its peak, Danbury had 56 different factories that produced 5 million hats per year. Wow. Unsurprisingly, many hatters with long-term exposure to the industry got mercury poisoning, and regionally it became known as the Danbury Shakes. On December 1st, 1941, the US banned mercury in the felt industry. Phew. Okay, but what about our original question? Did Carroll coin the phrase? Were Mad Hatters his inspiration for the hatters in his stories? Because of the symptoms of mercury poisoning over time, by 1837, quote, mad as a hatter, quote, was a common saying, which was almost 30 years before Carroll published Alice in Wonderland. So no, Carroll didn't coin the term, but what about the inspiration for his character? It is here, my friends and fiends, that we have a big plot twist. Despite the Hatter's markedly eccentric behavior and Carroll's familiarity with the madness of Hatters during that time, Carroll likely based the character off of an eccentric furniture salesman he knew, Theophilus Carter, who did not show signs of mercury poisoning. Carter had a habit of standing in the door of his shop in Oxford wearing a top hat on the back of his head. An unfortunate turn of genetics made him an easy caricature for the book, what with a strong nose and somewhat receding chin. Over the years, some have thought that Carter didn't know he was the inspiration for the character, but evidently all of Oxford called him the Mad Hatter. Like the element and the god Mercury, this video took quite a few twists and turns itself. But there you have it, the origins of not only the Mad Hatter in Alice in Wonderland, but also of the phrase itself. Questions for you. Why is a raven like a writing desk? And/or, should fancy hats come back into fashion? Minus the mercury, of course. Let me know in the comments below. Thank you, friends and fiends, for checking out this mercurial video. Please like and subscribe to see more creepy and cool things as they come out. I'll see you soon. Goodbye.